today's going to be a good one. We're going to be talking about brand strategy and what it's all about. So, brand strategy is part of your business plan, and it defines how you're going to influence favorability with your audience. Why will they use you over the competition? Now, a lot of startups, they just simply skip over this. It sounds like something to figure out later. And frankly, when you're starting a new business, a lot of things can fall into that category. You're like, we'll worry about that later. We'll figure out later. We just got to get this thing done. We got to get that thing done. And oh man, that can be a big mistake. Now, some people, they luck out and they may hit it big with no brand strategy at all. And, we know a lot of people like this. There's a lot of stories where somebody just goes out there, they nail it on the first shot, it blows up, and they have this great victory. Now, obviously, that's not how everybody works, and that's not a business plan, and it's not something that you want to risk. You want to make good strategic decisions that are going to set a foundation for your business to grow and prosper. So you got to learn to prioritize. You get up and running, and you just start with what you have oftentimes. But I'm going to argue that having a brand strategy is not something that you should just simply ignore. So here's a little example. Imagine you're on a blind date. You show up and there's your date. They're missing an eyebrow. They're missing a front tooth. Their clothes don't match. Their accent changes periodically as you talk. And then their actual personality changes from somebody that's very nice and well put together and formal to loud and goofy. Not only would you be really, really confused, you'd actually run for the hills. That date would be over immediately. Now imagine that this is how your audience actually sees you and you don't even realize it. Think about how terrifying that is for a moment. Have you ever been talking to somebody, you have something on your face or something stuck in your tooth or something hanging out of your nose and nobody has the decency to tell you, and you end up going around meeting several people throughout the day, not realizing that something's on your face, something's there, everyone sees it, and nobody's telling you. It's a horrifying thing to think about. But this is what we do with our businesses. It's absolutely crazy. So how does this even happen? Well, without a brand strategy in place, you end up having all of these different people coming on board with the business, getting involved, and you got people interacting with clients one way, and some people doing your social media posts, posting serious material with some goofy material mixed in or whatever they want. Then your logo's done by somebody else. Your graphic design materials are outsourced to various freelancers. And the end result is that your audience sees all different kinds of things that are all coming from you. You're all over the place, and they have no idea how to connect with you. You're like that blind date who's unpredictable and unreliable. And on my last podcast, I shared the story of two clients who just about made very drastic logo decisions. It was insane. They conveyed the exact opposite of what they were intending to communicate. You think, how can somebody possibly, knowing what they know about their business and seemingly knowing their audience and understanding who their audience is, go and make a decision like that? It's insane, but it happens all the time. And I see it all the time. It's absolutely nuts. And so imagine putting all of that work into making your dream come true, only to sabotage yourself without even realizing it. With a little bit of research online, you can put a basic strategy together, and you owe it to yourself to look into creating a brand strategy. And I know that stuff can begin flying over your head really, really quick. It's a big subject that can take years and years to become proficient at, but you want to get back into actually building your business. But if you have the budget, for crying out loud, work with a professional that can help position you correctly. Now, having that outside set of eyes can be absolutely critical. I've seen it many times. You're too close to the business. You lose the ability to see it as your customer does because you've built it from scratch. You've been there in the trenches. You have a deep understanding of how all the things work. And many people fail to communicate even a portion of that to their audience. But here's the deal. Fresh eyes find stuff. Fresh eyes see what you don't. Fresh eyes see your business the way your customers do. So having those outside eyes are absolutely critical. So let's talk a minute about what a brand actually is. Many people think it's a logo, it's all this stuff. That's not a brand. Your brand is that feeling in the gut that your audience has about you. And that feeling is influenced by a number of things, some out of your control and some that are in your control. So branding is the process of influencing that gut feeling. It involves some research and the formation of a strategy. You look at your competition, your target audience, what their needs are, how you'll solve those needs, how you're different from everyone else, and why they should believe you, among other things. And part of my process involves brand archetyping and often what I like to call archetype synthesis to create a personality that's truly unique and distinct for a brand. Now, this is really powerful because it focuses your voice and gets all the stakeholders and the people in the company on the same page. You're all singing from the same sheet of music. And that's going to lead into your brand identity, which are all the things that you can see, your logo, your packaging, your patterns, colors, fonts, products, vehicles, signs, etc. What are all the touch points for your brand? Where do people encounter your brand? And how does that translate into a path for your customers that results in value for them and profits for you? Who is managing all of these different assets? Who will ensure that everything is executed properly? Or will that simply be left up to chance? I mean, the real question is, when are you planning on figuring all this out? You want to have at least some kind of strategy in place in the beginning, or you're going to find yourself struggling in the future and often, and this is most terrifying in my mind, not understanding why you're struggling. But fortunately, these are all very solvable problems. There just has to be a desire to engage them properly. And it's a heck of a lot easier in the beginning when no assets have been created, no signs have been ordered, no swag has been printed, no big expensive things have been produced, no long stream of social media posts have been created. And changing lanes at that point, doing a rebrand, that can be astronomically more expensive than what it costs to get it right to begin with. It can be done, but it's a huge undertaking and not one that you want to be dealing with as you're deep into the business and you feel like you should be hitting your stride. It could be very difficult to do. It can sometimes be disastrous. So it's great to get it right the first time. Whether you hire a branding person or contract with an outside agency, this is something that I recommend leaving to the professionals, since that relationship between your brand and your audience is so critical. Now, for full disclosure, I'm definitely biased because this is what I do, but it took years and years to get where I am. And I couldn't imagine anybody unfamiliar with these things figuring all this out on a weekend. Experience is that valuable teacher, and these things actually take time to get right. So working with a professional, working with someone who understands these things so you can focus on the business is really, really important. I can't stress that enough. So anyway, hopefully that gets you into the mentality of what a brand strategy is and why it's so important and how this plays into your ultimate success in connecting with your audience, the creation of value, the creation of profit. All these things are intertwined. It's very important. I'll leave you with that. That's all for today. I hope you got something of value out of this episode. So get out there and create some greatness.